Do you have any thoughts about encountered or experienced inequalities regarding language in the classroom?
Well, regarding language, I'd maybe, is it okay if I answer the question in a more sort of broad sense that just talks about inequalities, maybe more general, maybe more sort of, if I can shoehorn this in, just more generally about on campus and some of the issues that I've noticed generally that relate to Chinese students, English, use of English or not, maybe just the way issues with integration. I think you guys focus in the book, obviously, a lot about the Englishes that people use. And then what you've just been saying, and please forgive me if I've misinterpreted this, it's more about how we should, as an institution and as academics, maybe be prepared for how people use different Englishes. And I think that's incredibly important. And I want to kind of segue from that and discuss there's a relationship. There's the student and then there's the institution. As far as I see it, I mean, I'm not an academic. Please cut me off if you really disagree. But I see it as a relationship. And if we look at it as a relationship, we have the students on one hand, and they have a role. And I also think the university has a role. And if we look at the university, I mean, the university does some things incredibly well. If I look at my own experience in China, and I think anybody who's studied an East Asian or Asian language, or maybe a language of a culture that is more insular and doesn't have as many immigrants, you've probably experienced going to that country and living there. And I think there's an onus on you as an individual to maybe push yourself culturally, and there isn't as much support for you. So I know what it feels like to not be supported in my use of a foreign language, or just generally living in another culture. So I understand how important it is. But I also think that there is an argument potentially to be made here about the role of the individual, and maybe sort of bring in the idea of clustering or potentially self-segregation. And just to sort of back that up, the things that the university does well here is like, well, I don't think, so for example, the Manchester-China Friendship Programme, and there's obviously lots of initiatives on campus. I mean, they could be communicated better. But one of the big problems that I've observed and experienced myself is that with student societies, more sort of grassroots initiatives that try to get students together and maybe bridge some of these gaps that you talk about here. Obviously you talk about it in terms of the different Englishes, but also these cultural gaps. There are lots of ostensibly cultural integration societies on campus, but they only use Mandarin. So the committees are all Chinese. They use Mandarin materials in their promotion of the societies, and having tried to join these societies, they aren't very accepting to non-Chinese members. And I even tried to create a society at the university that aims to sort of improve integration between students, and maybe integration is not the correct word, but sort of just get people together, experience each other's cultures at just a really grassroots, no sort of agenda there, just basically like get together, have a drink, talk about each other's lives, experiences, these sorts of things. But that actually was blocked by the university because of the existence of these other societies that were created with the same goal, except that I would argue maybe they don't achieve that. So I think that, my overall point here is that maybe we need to think about the institution, and then maybe also maybe bring the individual. I'm not sure how much you would agree, but maybe also bring the individual into this and sort of say, what role do each of these partners in this relationship have? I don't know if anyone has any thoughts.
Yeah, I do agree with you. And also, like, we were both we were working together, trying to build a which is called Mandarin and English Culture. What is that called again? Mandarin, English, Culture and Language Society. Yes. And the university said, because we have Chinese Integration Society, Language Society, so that your mission has been like covered, which is not true, because there is no integration, real integration or interaction or engagement in the Chinese society that already existed. British students who are trying to join the Chinese Integration Society got rejected, or they are not encouraged to join. And also, I think universities and students should both take responsibilities in this process, in the engagement process, because I can also observe that in the classroom, the lecturers are really understanding that we're speaking Mandarin. We might have difficulties to speak English, but Chinese students are also trying to just speak Mandarin in a international social settings. For example, when there are local students or international students who cannot understand Mandarin, Chinese students still speak Mandarin with each other to communicate about some important information, which I think that is Chinese students' responsibility to achieve creating or engaging in the inclusive environment.